Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. We are Brigade of Beings, a diagnosed dissociative identity disorder system. My name is Atlas and this is an introduction to our frequent fronters. Firstly, this is probably going to be a long video. There are quite a few questions that we have been asked on our various social media platforms to touch on, and also we just like to yap about ourselves. And some of these questions have quite in-depth answers. So I will try and put timestamps in the description so that you can jump if you want to see someone specifically, or just feel to come back as you want to. Second, I am filming this in 35, 36 degrees Celsius heat with no fan because the mic will pick it up. I think that is around like 98, 99 degrees Fahrenheit if my conversions are correct. So if I look like I'm melting, if I look like I am sweaty, it's because I am. But I'm in the mood to yap about myself, so I want to film it now. It doesn't look like the weather is going to be cooling down for the next couple of months, so we're just going to have to learn to cope. I'm also going to describe very quickly what I mean by frequent fronter. So fronting for DID systems refers to who is in the body at any given time, who is in control, who is retaining memories. Now, our frequent fronters in this video don't necessarily fully front the most. However, for us, frequent fronters doesn't necessarily mean the alters who are in the body the most of the time, because we can go through stages where different alters are fronting more frequently. For us, frequent fronters refers to not just fronting time, but also consistency. So all of us consistently front regularly. And besides that, there are some alters like cryptic or chambers who might not be fully front, but are very frequently co-conscious or co-fronting. So although they might not be the ones actively engaging in the external world, they are still very present in our lives and very close to being in control and having communication internally with whoever is actively fronting. I hope that that all makes sense. And without further ado, let's get into the introductions. The basics about me. My name is Atlas. I age like between 18 and 23 years old, and I use he, him pronouns. I am aromantic and asexual and consider myself to be transmasculine / a trans man. Also in these little basic facts is a question about if we have fused before. And yes, I have. Just too many times to count. In our part 1 of Meet the Alters, Astral made a video. Astral has since fused into me. I am similar to him in a lot of ways and also very different in a lot of ways. There was also some rearrangement of parts earlier this year, so not everyone who fused into Astral is fused into me. They have been sectioned off into different alters within the system, just because our brain needed to reformat what was going on to make our hosting situation more, what is the word? Practical? No, sustainable. So all that rearrangement happened to make it more sustainable. My role within the system, I am the host. So I do front the most. I front like 2-3 times as much as other alters. I am typically the one to wake up in the body, and I'm typically the easiest for different alters in the system to switch to. And I also handle most of our social interactions, especially if it's with people that we don't know very well, but do know that we'll be seeing consistently. This next one is kind of in 2 parts. One is about what I look like in the headspace, and the second is about how I feel in the actual body. So in the headspace, in the inner world, I have black hair that is kind of a similar length to this. Not that you can see it because it's pushed back, but you've seen it in other videos. But it doesn't have the side cuts, and it's kind of shaggy. It's kind of mullety, but not quite a mullet. I have blue eyes that are the same color as the body's, and I have freckles, and I am probably about the skin tone. Now I've actually got a tan again, I am about the skin tone. Also, the second part of this question is about how I feel in the body. I feel pretty neutral in and about the body. Although I experience a lot of gender dysphoria, and I don't look like how we look in the mirror. I don't look so different, but it's definitely this weird sense of uncanny valley when I look in the mirror, because I recognize it as the body, I recognize it as the vessel that I exist within, but it's also not me. It's not what I look like, and that's really weird to grapple with. But in terms of feeling present in the body, I do that pretty typically. I feel like I exist in our chest area, and also our head, like this section. I exist in this section of the body mostly. And that doesn't mean that I'm not connected to the rest of it. It doesn't mean like I don't feel the rest of it. But if I was to be asked the question, where are you in your body right now? It typically sits somewhere in that area. This next whole section focuses on my relationships with other alters within the system. So I'm part of a subsystem. There are only 2 of us in my subsystem. There is myself and there is Arca. Arca is also my sister. She is my younger sister. She's not in this video, but she will be making a future video about her role, so you will get to meet her at some point. Other relationships that I have within the system, I have kind of this found family brothership vibe going with Theseus and Dusty. The 3 of us get along quite well. I also front quite a bit with Alter 1. He doesn't want a name. They don't want a name. They just want to be referred to as Alter 1, who will also be making a video about their role in the future. But I just say that because it's such a diabolical name. Like the names that some people in the system use, I'm like, why? But not my circus, not my monkey. Well, it is my circus, but it's also none of my business. In terms of other internal relationships that I have, I'm a little bit close with like Adam and Molly and some of our other kids, but not like super close. Astral used to have a very close bond with our kids, but I have kind of stepped back from that because other alters have stepped into that role, just because I was needed to be doing other things. The next part of this question is, who do I like to front with? I love fronting with Arca. Fronting with Arca is just a great time. I like fronting with Chambers. Chambers is still relatively new to the system, but I'm getting along with them quite well as well. I like fronting with Dusty. I like fronting with Theseus. I also, even though it can be a little bit of a weird vibe, sometimes I like fronting with Magnus, just because I know that if he's around, stuff's probably going to get done. Same with Tempest and same with Daisy. Like if they're in front, I know that we're going to get stuff done, which is nice because my ADHD and my executive dysfunctioning is through the roof high. And then the next question is, how do I work with other alters? I kind of work as the system's baseline. So other alters will often mask as me when we're in social situations. And I'll also often help them act like me when we don't really feel safe being overtly ourselves. Not that a lot of us are extremely different, but some of us definitely are, especially some of the kids. I kind of help to minimize that overtness if it's in a situation where we don't feel comfortable showing that. I also work with like Dusty and Cryptic just to like help keep our environment safe and keep like our like security, not as in like locks and stuff, but like financial security, emotional security, keeping that security and that stability as calmly as I can, and work with like caretakers and protectors to ensure that. The next little section is about my interests. The first question is, what do I enjoy doing when I'm fronting? I like reading, whether that's actually physically reading or if it's listening to an audiobook. I like playing board games like Backgammon or Battleship or Scrabble. I'll often play Scrabble with Arca sometimes. And we won't like take turns. It's not like we're switching back and forth. We'll just like go between the different Scrabble boards and make as many different words as we can. I like playing Minecraft, I like playing Stardew Valley, I like filming videos, I like editing videos, I like helping other alters script their videos. I'm often also kind of close to front when they're filming to help give them pointers or advice, or to just give them information if they're lacking it. I like spending time with our cats. I love socializing. I like going out to different events. I go to a social, a social games club twice a week, which is quite fun. I also like doom scrolling. I like scrolling through TikTok. I like interacting with people on TikTok and reposting things over there. And I like learning things. So I like watching video essays or reading like articles and stuff about different topics, but mostly focusing around like psychology and like also then like first-hand accounts of people's experiences with different kinds of topics. The next one is about our favorite kinds of media. I have written them down so I didn't forget anything, so I'm just going to read them off to you guys. My fave music artists are Autoheart, Asteel, Hosier, Alec Benjamin, Bears and Trees, The Crane Wives, and Nathan Apollo. My favorite books are The Hunger Games, and my favorite genres to read are fantasy and dystopian. My favorite games I like to play are Minecraft or Stardew Valley. I like to play Solitaire or Polytopia on our phone. We also have like a no Wi-Fi free multi-game app thing where I play Backgammon and Battleship. And then in terms of like film and TV and things to watch, I enjoy Critical Role. I like the live series, so like Third Life, Last Life, most recently Wildlife. I like Doctor Who, iZombie, There was another one that I just said and I've already forgotten and I didn't write it down. The Good Place. I love The Good Place as well. I love that show. I also like Heartbreak High and Heartstopper. And then, like, what's your favorite animal and your favorite color? My favorite animals are African wild dogs, and my favorite color is blue. A little bit more deep and meaningful, what are my worldviews and values? I see most people as just human beings, and by that I mean all of them are deserving of compassion and understanding until they do something to prove otherwise. And most people do things because, like, there's a reason why most people do things. Like, not always, but a lot of the time there is. I think that everyone in life is deserving of stability and is deserving of a safe place to live and having access to all of their basic needs. Like, I feel like that's not an extremist viewpoint, but apparently it is. I also just think that, like, there is a lot that can be done with connecting to community, and when you find your community online or in person, that strengthens who you are as a person. And I think that connecting with your neighbors and local groups, and even if it's just around like niche interest areas, like getting into a Discord server about a specific fandom, and that building of community is really, really important and something that everyone should try to do if it's achievable for them. And then in terms of values, I value learning, knowledge, and education. I value autonomy and having the right to choose what you do with your own life. I value openness and respect and kindness, and as well as acceptance. And I don't know if I've already said understanding, but understanding as well. The next one is a fun fact about you. Fun fact about me is that I am the alter who is most likely to remember our dreams, and I remember dreams from every single night. Like, I'll always wake up in the morning having remembered a dream. Most of them are pretty vivid. Now, remembering dreams does not help the derealization that I experience a lot of, but I also think it's really interesting because, like, there's things that, like, happen in our dreams that I'm like, that's really out of pocket. And then sometimes I'll have a dream and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. And I like being able to reflect on what my subconscious is giving me whilst I'm asleep. And I think that it's really cool that I get, like, really vivid dreams, and, like, I semi-frequently, like, not all the time, but some of the time, I'm able to lucid dream as well, so I'm able to influence what's going on around me, and that is quite fun. And I think that's quite a cool thing that I experience. That is all from me. I don't know who out of the other 5 is going to be filming next, but I think it's probably likely Cryptic or Theseus. It was lovely to yap about myself, and I will see you around in future videos. Hello, I'm Regulus. I am 25 years old and I use he, him pronouns. I hold several different roles within the system. Primarily, I am a fictive, I'm a protector, and I'm also a bridge alter. As a little bit of an explanation on that last one, it means that I'm able to travel between locations in our inner world that otherwise aren't crossable. So where I exist internally, alters from the main part of our system can't normally access. However, I'm able to walk between both of those places and communicate between both of those places, creating a bridge. There's nothing too extravagant about my appearance. There should be a little video of a sim being made on the screen right now. I have short black hair. I have very light grey-green eyes. That is the one thing that's wrong about the sim. Atlas forgot to adjust that. I favour black clothes. We didn't have any, so I went with green. I also tend towards long sleeves and long pants. In terms of how I feel when I'm in the body, I feel very uncomfortable. This isn't my body. This isn't what I look like. I'm still adjusting to life in general. I guess I split this year, and it's taking me a while to adjust to everything because there's quite a lot going on at the moment. Next question, my internal relationships. So I have a close working relationship with Lucifer, who's one of our guardians, and I'm also in a partnership with my lovely boyfriend, James. I also work relatively closely with Cryptic and a few other protectors in our system. I consider myself friends with Dusty, Theseus, and Atlas, and there's a couple of kids in our system who have become quite attached and fond of me as well. When it comes to who I like fronting with, I like fronting with James. I just like doing everything with him, to be honest, and it's nice when he's in front with me. And I also quite like fronting with Dusty. He's pretty chill, and we just kind of normally hang out, and he'll tend to just watch TV shows or something while he's fronting. In terms of how I work with Lucifer, Cryptic, etc., some of that is like private, and I don't feel like discussing it on the internet. But other parts of it, just like the basic elements, are I essentially communicate information and help make sure that certain boundaries between different altars are being respected and being listened to and being acknowledged. My interests and hobbies, things that I like to do when I'm fronting, I really enjoy scrapbooking. I enjoy listening to musicals and watching musicals. I think my favourite musical that I've listened to so far is either Into the Woods or Les Mis. And I also like going out and looking at flowers and looking at photos of flowers. When it comes to my values, I'm not really sure what my values are. I haven't really sat down and thought about it too much. But I guess privacy and respect are big ones. My actual worldview, I'm also still developing. I think that the world can be really harsh and really unfair, and I think that there are genuinely evil people in it who should never have the right to be around other people. But I also think that there are some incredibly kind and incredibly generous people out there who just do make the world better by talking to them. Finally, a little fun fact about myself. We last month, or the month before, October, whenever October was, went to a theme park, and the system was on a roller coaster, and one of the kids who's grown quite fond of me was fronting, and then pulled me into front in the middle of a roller coaster ride. And I've never been on a roller coaster, and I'm kind of afraid of heights, and I did not have a good time, but this child altar thought it was absolutely hilarious and will not let me live it down. And he just he continues to bring it up all the time, and he said that should be my fun fact because it's the most interesting thing I've ever done. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to go head off to bed now since it's after midnight. I'm sure that whoever else is next will have plenty to say. Bye. Hello everybody, I am Theseus. I use he, him pronouns. I'm 22 years old. I'm an aromantic, asexual trans man, and I'm the co-host of our system. So I am a fused altar. I'm fused from several different parts. There was a bit of like a mix-up earlier this year where a bunch of altars who'd fused kind of got teased apart, and who they'd fused from got put into different places. So our host and some of our other altars at the time no longer existed and became myself, became Atlas, became Dusty, and a few other altars in the system. Notable altars who have fused into who I am now are Gale, Thomas, X, and Midnight. Internally, I'm very pale. If the body doesn't go out in the sun, that's about the skin tone I am. I'm also quite lanky and thin. My face is quite narrow. I have blue eyes and freckles and brown hair that's just kind of a shaggy mess, but also like a short shaggy mess. There's not much to say on that account because you're seeing it because there's a sim being made at the moment, so I don't need to go into too much detail. When it comes to how I feel when I'm fronting in the body, I'm relatively grounded when I'm in the body. I feel connected to our whole physical body. That's not to say that I don't experience dissociation. I do. I still blend with other altars. I still get depersonalized and derealized, but I can also be entirely grounded and fully present within the body and fully present as just myself within the body. In terms of internal relationships, I'm very close with Atlas and Dusty. We're kind of like found family brothers in a sense. And whilst I do have relationships with other altars, those are the two that I have the best communication with. And so whilst I do know Cryptic, and I know Regulus, and I know Tempest, and I know some of our other caretakers and some of our kids, I'm not as close to them. I would like to try and work on those relationships, but building communication between altars isn't always easy, and that takes a lot of work. In terms of who I front with the most, I front the most with Atlas and Dusty and Altar 1. And it's quite common for all four of us, or for some mix of the four of us, to be in front together. And I've also sometimes fronted with Regulus and James, or some of our kids, or with Cryptic, or with Chambers. In terms of how I work with other alters, my role has just very recently shifted to co-host. I've always been a frequent fronter since I formed, but I was a symptom holder. However, I've now gotten a better handle on those symptoms and have been fronting more and more regularly, so I've taken up the role of co-host. In terms of what that actually means and how I function, it just means that I front a lot. It's pretty easy for me to switch in, or for alters to reach out to me to get me to switch in. I kind of take over when Atlas has had too much time in front. Like, our system doesn't really function with having an alter in front for an entire day. Like, we'll switch normally at least once. And it's very common if someone did front for a whole day for them to then be able to front the whole of the next day. And so other people need to step in and continue to just get through the day. And so I'm one of those alters who can step in pretty easily and just get through the day. When it comes to what I like doing, I like reading. I just like laying in bed and reading, or playing Minecraft, or watching TV. Although reading is something that I prefer, but I don't always have the ability to focus on it. I also quite like chatting to our friends, be that like through text messages or video calls, or actually hanging out with them in person. My favorite pieces of media, my favorite book, I'm going to count it as a book, it's technically a fan fiction, is Crimson Rivers, which is a Marauders AU set in the Hunger Games, and it's very, very good. It's also very long. It's like 4,000 pages long, and we are a relatively slow reader, because normally an alter who's reading a book will be like one of the few alters who read it. Like, we have shared Crimson Rivers, but a lot of the time we'll only read it when I'm near front, so I think we've been reading it since March, and we're at page like 3,800 now, so we're nearly done. We've nearly finished it. We're hopefully going to finish it by the end of the year. When it comes to music, I don't listen to music a lot, but there are some songs and some artists that I vibe with and that I have on a playlist for myself that include Chase Petra, Mother Mother, Half Alive. Let me check. I wrote this down because I'm bad at remembering artist names. Oh yeah, and Saint Motel and Rainbow Kid and Surprise. I don't know why I forgot that last one, because it's such an iconic band name. My favorite color is green. I also quite like brown, but green is my favorite color. And for favorite animals, I'm not sure I have one. I love animals just in general. I really like cats. I think that he's in frame. He might not be, but S'more is up above me. And I also like cats of all sizes, like including big cats and stuff. And I think stuff like mountain lions are pretty cool. My worldview. I think that connecting to other people is vital. I think that it is very important to be able to live a fulfilling and sustaining life, and connecting with people who understand you, and not just connecting with like random people, although that can still be beneficial, but like finding your community and finding your sense of belonging within the world and belonging within different groups of people is really, really important. I also think that rest is quite important. I think that rest is an active choice that we choose to make. And whilst it can be hard to do, it can be very hard to make yourself rest, especially when you, like us, have ADHD and your brain is just constantly moving. It can be very, very important to making sure that you can still do what you want to do and don't just completely crash and burn into the ground. I also think that nobody's perfect. There are some genuinely really fucked up people in the world, but I don't think there are any purely good people, because we're all human and we all make mistakes, and one mistake does not a monster make. My big values that I have are authenticity, connecting, community, acceptance, compassion, empathy, and education. I think that you need to turn like the values that you have and also apply them to yourself. And the final part of this little introduction is a fun fact about me. I named myself after the ship of Theseus and that whole myth, because, as I kind of described, my fusion was quite messy and complicated, and I was trying to work out who I was now and who was me, and where, at what point, like, is it still fusion? Is it still splitting? Like, the whole, if you have a ship and you keep fixing it and replacing all the boards in it, at what point does it just become a new ship? And that really resonated with me when I first formed, because it was a mess working out who I was. But I'm really glad that I did. And I also just think it's a really cool name. And I think that it fits me quite well. That should cover everything. Gonna hand this over to whoever's next. Hi everybody, my name is Chambers. I'm 20 years old. I use she, they pronouns. I'm genderqueer, aroace, and I'm a fused alter. So a couple of months ago, I fused from 3 alters. That was Jordan, Mango, and Hunter. And then just in this last week, I've also absorbed another alter, Skylar. And they all make up who I am now today. So my role as an alter, I am a caretaker. Specifically, I'm our front caretaker. So what that means is, like, Cryptic is our primary protector and never very far from front. I'm also not very far from front. It's very easy for me to be co-conscious with other alters and to offer them support and reassurance. Sometimes they don't know that it is me. They just feel a calming presence because my communication with them might not be the best. But I'm still often able to get across some calming or soothing vibes and help them regulate and give them positive reminders or neutral reminders and just tell them where we are, what we're doing, who we're with, and making sure that whoever is fronting is doing okay emotionally speaking. When it comes to appearance, I'm quite short and I have really messy brown hair, like it's all uneven, it's cut all to different lengths, which we couldn't quite replicate on The Sims, but it is all over the place. I also have blue eyes, I'm quite slender. When it comes to clothes, I like overalls and pinafores and like layering things. Unfortunately, where we live is quite hot and we don't get to layer for most parts of the year, but I do like when we actually get to do so. I'm not often actually fronting fully when I'm around front, so it's quite often that I don't feel like I'm in the body at all. I feel like I'm watching it, or I feel like I am walking beside whoever is in the body and supporting them. But when I am fully fronting, I feel relatively grounded. I can feel myself in our head and in our back and in our arms, and I do feel like I'm present, but that isn't the most common experience for me because I'm not normally fully fronting. When it comes to my internal relationships, I'm still relatively new to being me as a fusion, and so I'm still building on those relationships. I get along quite well with our other frequent fronters. I get along quite well with Helena. I get along well with Tempest. And I do help support many other alters in our system, even if my relationship with them isn't a very strong one yet. I like fronting with Dusty. He just has a very chill vibe. I enjoy fronting with Atlas as well. And I enjoy fronting with Helena. And I enjoy fronting with pretty much everyone in the system, even when alters are distressed and upset. I know that I'm there to help them, so I don't mind being in front with them when they're distressed or when the body is upset or when we're having a meltdown or a flashback, because I know that I'm there to be able to help. And even though it's not very a pleasant experience, and I wouldn't wish anyone to experience it, I know that me being there is a good thing and a positive thing, and I enjoy fronting with them. And how I work with other alters, I've kind of already touched on. I support them, I help them, I communicate with them, I give them reassurance, and I just make sure that they know that whatever is going on in our life, however overwhelmed we feel, we are safe and we are here to support each other. What do I enjoy doing when I'm fronting? When I'm actively fronting by myself, I enjoy reading and I enjoy talking to our friends. But most of the time, I just enjoy being in Cocon. I enjoy just kind of being carried around with whoever's actually in the body and just doing whatever they're doing. And I don't mind if I don't actually have any choice or decision over that, because normally whatever they're picking to do is something that I enjoy anyway. My favorite piece of media of all time is Little Women, the book. I also quite enjoy the 2019, I think was the year it came out, the 2019 film. It's such a comfort movie. It's so good, even though it's so devastatingly sad at different points in time. My favorite color is brown, with green coming in second, and my favorite animals are bears, cats, and moths. My worldviews and values. I think that it is very important to trust yourself and to rely on yourself. And that can be incredibly hard when you've gone through life-altering trauma and trauma that warps your perception of yourself and your trust in other people. And it can be very hard to learn to trust yourself again. It can be very, very hard to work out who the authentic you is versus who trauma brain thinks you are. But I think that once you manage to get there and you manage to recognize who you are and you get to meet yourself, so to speak, that's really, really powerful and really, really, really healing. I think that making a place for yourself in the world is important, and it doesn't have to be some big thing. It can just be setting up a little space in your home or making friends that recognize you as your authentic self. It can be things like buying things that make you happy or creating goals that you know will make you feel fulfilled, and not just being who you think people want you to be and actually allowing yourself to be yourself. As hard as it can be at times to do that, it feels so much more rewarding when you actually fulfill goals that are authentic to yourself or actually get to do things that make you happy and don't just make those around you happy. And I think acknowledging that and pursuing that and making time for that is very, very important. I also think that connecting with others is important. I think that learning how other people view you can show you insight to yourself. As a system ourselves, we have some quite strong-rooted negative self-values and ways that we view ourselves. But when we've talked to other people and we've found out how other people view us and they see us as this kind person, this open person, this generous person, that has then allowed ourselves to reflect back on our actions, reflect back on who we are as a person, and see that that is true. And that has been incredible for us to recognize, because it's this realization that we are a good person, which can be very hard to do. And getting to realize that and getting to know that mistakes are mistakes and that's okay, that's human. That doesn't define who you are. What defines who you are is your active choices that you make. And it's really wonderful to get to know who you are and get to love who you are. I've been sitting here trying to think of a fun fact about myself, and I'm not really sure. I guess that I'm just going to go with the fact that almost every single alter in our system who fronts will have an interaction with me. And that doesn't necessarily mean a direct interaction. It doesn't always mean conversation. It doesn't even mean that they know that I'm there. But because I'm so close to front and because my role is to support alters in front, even if they can't hear me and they can't see me and they can't recognize me as an alter, I can almost always push some kind of positive feelings or just gentle reminders to them to improve their day and to improve their experience in front, just a tiny bit, or at least not make it any worse than it already is. I'm going to sign off for now. I'll definitely see you all in future videos, and I'm going to hand it off to whoever is next. Hey everybody, my name's Dusty. I'm 20 years old, I use he, him pronouns, I'm a transmasculine person, and I'm aero-ace. I am a fused alter. I've fused many times over the last few years, and there are too many alters for me to list who make me up now, but notable alters who have fused into myself are Connor, Elliot, Everett, Trip, Wolfgang, Neo, Mouse, and G. The role I hold within the system is a protector, specifically a social protector, and I also act as a temporary co-host at certain times. I have a brown mullet internally, I have brown eyes, I've got freckles, I've got kind of tan skin, and I've got scraggly facial hair. The body is starting to grow facial hair, but very, very slowly, and not anyone that's very visible because it's very, very blonde and very, very light. When I'm fronting, I feel hunger quite often. A lot of the system is very disconnected from our hunger cues. That's likely due to being autistic. However, I'm much more in tune with that. So I front, I get hungry, I eat, and then I feel more satisfied. I also feel pretty present within our whole body, except slightly behind it. So I'm connected to like the back half of our body, like the back of our head, our back, the backs of our arms, the backs of our legs. And I'm never quite fully in the body. It's like I'm just slightly behind it, but also within it, which is quite a weird experience. So whilst it can be a very weird experience and sounds very surreal to explain, it's also my every single day. This is how I feel every single time I front, and although it is weird and can be very disconcerting, I've also adapted to it and have learned how to navigate life being slightly disconnected from my body, except from hunger cues, pretty much. My internal relationships. I'm really good mates with Atlas and Theseus, and I get along quite well with Cryptic and Chambers as well. Who do I like to front with? I just quite enjoy fronting with most people in the system. Honestly, there's some alters that I don't get along with very well, but I get along with most people because I'm just chill to watch TV, and we'll just watch TV together and hang out, or scroll TikTok and hang out, or whatever. Like, I don't really have a huge preference for who I front with. Like, my communication isn't great with everyone in the whole system, but those I do have communication with, I get along pretty well with. I just said with so many times it no longer sounds like a real word. How I work with other alters, specifically, I help with making sure that we are eating. Because as I mentioned, a lot of alters in our system have really bad hunger cues. Although when it comes to variety of food, I still struggle. A lot of alters in our system do, and I tend to gravitate towards like chips or fish fingers or chicken nuggets or soup, and not a lot of fresh veggies. But I'm working on it, and there are other alters in the system who do really love fresh fruit, etc. So they eat that, and it all balances out to an even balanced diet. Other things that I do when it comes to working with the system and working with other alters in the system is making sure that we're relaxing, making sure that we're taking time for ourselves, making sure that we're just chilling out and taking a breather and not stressing out too hard. because if we stress out too hard, that does not go well for the system, and I need to front more. And whilst I do enjoy fronting, I also enjoy fronting and relaxing rather than fronting and trying to do risk management and all that stuff. What I enjoy doing in the body, I love to watch TV. I like just coming out and watching TV. I like watching TikToks and edits of media that I've consumed, and I like talking to our friends about media that I've consumed. I also really enjoy cross-stitching, so these are ones that I did at the end of 2023. Technically, Connor did them, but Connor's fused into me and I have the memories of making them. These were what got us back into cross-stitching. At the time, we actually had our ADHD meds, and we were able to focus. They then gave us side effects down the line and we're waiting on new meds to try. But being able to focus on tasks was really, really helpful for getting back into a hobby that we hadn't touched in years. We used to cross stitch as a little kid and a little bit as a teenager, but we've really gotten back into it in the last 12 months. And now, even though we don't have our ADHD meds and focusing is harder, because we're back into it and we've built up the hobby and we've built up our skills again, it's easier for us to do, and we like to cross stitch when we're watching TV. We recently had some artwork that we put into an exhibition, a local disability exhibition that was really cool to be a part of. And we've been giving cross stitches as gifts, and it's been really nice to create something and to express ourselves through a creative process. My favorite media, my two favorite shows are Doctor Who and Criminal Minds. We started watching Doctor Who at the end of 2023 because we'd never seen it before. Absolutely fell in love, adore it. And then we started watching Criminal Minds a couple of months ago. We're currently at the end of season 7 as I'm filming this. I was watching it literally just before. And it's just, I like Doctor Who because I like the sci-fi elements and the relationships of the characters, and it's a really, really good show. And I also really enjoy Criminal Minds because it has this formulaic rhythm to the episodes. You know that it's going to take about 40 minutes and they're going to catch the bad guy. It's going to be resolved in the end. And there is also a really good character, interpersonal relationships between the characters and this found family vibe that just really hits home and resonates with me. And I just love them so much, and I could talk about them for literally hours and hours on end. I don't so much enjoy doing the process of makeup, but I think glittery eyeshadows are fun and I like when we wear them, so I did do this makeup look specifically to film this video. Normally I wouldn't bother. Normally I wouldn't bother changing my clothes or doing my makeup, but because I'm filming a video, because I'm talking about myself and I'm taking the time out of the day to do so, I figured why not dress myself up a little bit. My favorite color is brown. I find it really warm and really welcoming, and it's really, really cool. I'm not sure what my favorite animal is, which is the next question on here. I think rabbits are really cute. I love cats. I love our cats. I also love dogs and bears and big cats. Like most of the system, I just love animals. I'm someone who can't pick a favorite because I love all of them. And other things I like that's not specifically on here is my favorite types of food. I really like barbecue food, like on an actual outdoor barbecue, and it's got that smoky taste to it. It's just amazing. Worldviews and values. I think that creativity is really, really important, and I think relaxation is really, really important. I think compassion is really important towards others and to yourself. I think that community is important. I think that collaboration is important. I think that autonomy is important. There are so many things that I could just list off the top of my head. I could keep going, but I'm going to try and keep this list short. My actual worldview, I think that the world's kind of pretty fucked, to be honest. I think that a lot of what goes on in politics is absolutely just fucked. It makes us very distressed to keep up with politics because people just don't seem to care about other people. It's very, very simple to just give a shit about someone. It's very, very simple to just not want to fuck someone over. But it seems to me that a lot of people in positions of power don't care, and they just want money, they just want power, they just want to be known, and they will happily fuck over everyone underneath them or that they perceive as being underneath them, and that is absolutely vile and atrocious and just entirely fucked up, and I hate it. But at the same time, even though I think on the big scale the world is really fucked, and even on smaller scales you can meet some really fucked up people in your life, you can also meet some really, really, really amazing people. We have some really amazing friends. We've met some really amazing people with creating content, and just we've had some really lovely comments from different people from all over the world, and it's been really cool to connect with people and that people have really resonated with our content. And although I do think that the world on a big scale is a bit fucked most of the time, I think that finding those small things, finding those small connections, finding those people that make you smile and make you feel better and make you feel seen and heard just does make your life and your world so much better in an overall perspective. And my fun fact about myself is if I was a TikTok sound, my TikTok sound would be the, you're wearing makeup, so are you, but you're a boy. Ah. Excuse the terrible impersonation. I just think that captures me really well. I am a guy. I use he, him pronouns. The body's transmasculine, and all of that. But I'm still gonna wear eyeshadow if I want to feel pretty because it's fucking cool. Who doesn't like some glitter? Thank you all so much for watching. It has been a pleasure to make this video for you all. It has taken several days, but that's just to be expected when you're involving so many alters in a video like this. If you'd like to see similar videos like introductions to alters in the future, please feel free to request it in the comments. We're tempted to do one where we do meet some of the caretakers in our system, meet some of the protectors in our system. But we figured in this one we'd introduce our frequent frontiers because we're the ones who are most likely to be either making videos or editing videos or responding in the comments. And it's nice to have a place, not just for our audience to get to know us on a more individual level, but also for us to look back on when we get to meet the alter videos and reflect on who we were, if we've fused, or how someone within the system has grown and changed. And even just between each of us active now, it's a way for us to get to know each other better and to improve that communication and that integration between alters. And it's just really, really helpful for all of these different reasons. And so as much as we make these videos because they do well for the algorithm and it's what people seek out when they look for DID content a lot of the time, we don't really make it for the algorithm. We make it for ourselves. We make it because we like getting to know each other, and this is just a really easy way for us to do that. And people enjoy watching that content, so we may as well also publish it when it's something we're comfortable with. It has been wonderful making this video for you all. We will see you in the next one. Have a very happy new year if you're watching this before New Year's Eve. I hope 2025 serves all of you the absolute best that it can and that it holds all the shitty stuff. But even if you are having a rough year, don't forget to reach out to your community and your safety nets. It will be okay. You will get through this. Life can be really fucking hard sometimes, but at the end of the day, you're not doing this alone, and there are people who care about you. All right, make sure you're staying hydrated, sated, and caffeinated, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.